The USCSS Prometheus was a United States starship, the enaction of the classified Wayland Industries Prometheus expedition, of the same name, to the moon LV-223. The ship was named after the expedition, but also after the Greek mythological Titan that inspired the vision of the mission, and, named as such, was destined to meet an undesirable and titanic end. The United States commercial starship Prometheus is a Helidades-class space research and exploration vessel. The ship was constructed for the sole purpose of the Prometheus project. Project Prometheus was a massive endeavour, with very high stakes, and so the Prometheus was designed and constructed to be the best of its era, and likely possessed and harboured the most advanced technologies, and crude the elite of Earth, of many scientific fields. Project Prometheus was a Wayland Industries endeavour and was largely kept a secret up until it had already left Earth. Peter Wayland himself helped fund the project at his own personal expense, and gave both the ship and the mission its name of Prometheus, in honour of the Greek Titan Prometheus, the Titan who stole fire from the gods and gave it in the form of knowledge to humanity. Ultimately, the goal of the mission was to discover the origins of the human race in connection to an ancient race of god-like creatures known as the Engineers. The mission was understandably massive in scope. The questions being asked and the answers to be had could change humanity forever. And besides that, it was the furthest any human expedition into the Middle Heavens regions had taken at this time. And so I don't really need to push how big a deal it was for everything with this project to run smoothly. Previously, the Helidades held the title of the flagship for Wayland Industries. The Prometheus set out to dethrone it as its superior sister ship. After the Prometheus completed construction in 2072, the following year saw its first test flight under Captain Corin McManus. Aside from just leading the project's expedition into the depths of space, the Prometheus was also designed to eventually supersede the Helidades class in every way, and pick up where that ship had left the torch of exploration. Known as a Helidades class space vehicle, it was in fact the second generation of Helidades craft, with its common title being Prometheus, connecting it directly to the mission of its original intent. The Prometheus's construction and production were undertaken by the Exoplanet Starship Division of Wayland Industries. The ship was the culmination of a lot of cutting-edge technologies of the time. The main fuselage of the craft measured at 130 metres, with a beam of 48.75 metres and a draft at 35.6 metres. The main fuselage possessed a large number of antennae, with two long-range interstellar communication antennae either side of the midsection of the hull. Towards the rear of the ship there is a set of sensory pylons and antenna either side of the hull again, and likewise a set either side of the hull appear at the front of the ship, with a final set either side of the hull but above and below the flight deck. These arrays allowed for faster than light transmission of signals back to Earth and vice versa, as well as being able to beam transmissions directly to LV-223 in order to communicate with the engineers that may already be there. The hull itself is multi-layered and semi-rigid for added structural support and security of those aboard. In order to achieve this, the hull was comprised of some kind of metal alloy that was capable of retaining properties of metals, but also allowing for reversible deformation. Protruding from the port and starboard sides of the ship's hull is a large plasma engine mount. From each of these attaches a large fulcrum block that attaches itself to two nuclear fission powered ion plasma engines. These engines were designed attached to the fulcrum to gyrate about and give the Prometheus the ability to perform vertical takeoff and landing procedures. It also gave them the added bonus of supporting the ship during changing atmospheric conditions, with the engines being able to change position and improve their vectoring. Individual hydraulic cranes in the engine's outer shell acted to lift the heavy landing gear back out of and back into the engine modules when they needed to be. The reactor for the ship's power supply ran off fusion energy, and the Prometheus's drive was likely state-of-the-art in order to generate the displacement energy it did, and run all the specific scientific equipment aboard. Whilst the Prometheus had FTL capabilities, before we explore the exact method used for that, I thought that the sublight engines were worth a mention. Sublight engines provide conventional thrust for the Prometheus, and take the form of rocket motors that are directly powered by the fusion reactor. In order to generate this thrust, industrial carbon diamond is simply placed in contact with the fusion plasma of the reactor. This process leads to the diamond and the gases generated superheating, that are then expelled via the rocket's exhaust system, generating a thrust force which can be used to accelerate, decelerate, or land or take off the craft. The FTL travel that the Prometheus is able to achieve is achieved by a system aboard known as the Displacement Drive. This particular drive was a take-on shunt hyperdrive, powered by the ship's reactor. Through the take-on shunt hyperdrive, the vessel is able to achieve a maximum FTL speed of 16.4 times the speed of light, meaning that in the time of a year, the ship is able to travel 16.4 times further than light itself. Very impressive for its time. As we move from top to bottom of the ship's decks, we begin our observation at Dec A. Dec A contains much of the vital equipment for proper functionality of the ship's various systems. At the bow of the deck, we have the central computer AI system for controlling and maintaining correct functionality of the vessel and its many more advanced and intricate systems. Moving down the halls, we now travel sternward as we reach the A1 Junction, which acts as the ship's main airlock and entry point to the vessel. Across from the airlock is the starship's stairwell, which bridges the other decks. Further down the hall, you can't see them, but you will bypass the internal air scrubbers on this level, working hard to ensure a breathable atmosphere is maintained as deadly toxic chemicals are removed. And whilst the life support modules of the Prometheus were capable of housing a complement crew of 25, there was only actually 17 for the planned mission to LV-223. You eventually reach an intersecting hallway of the deck, which has an elevator system on its port and starboard side. Dec A also contains all three of the ship's cryostasis rooms that connect sternward to the examination room, where the awakened crew must undergo a complete physical and be cleared of any illness related to the hibernation process. From here they can bridge port or starport to the showers and wardrobes, which also directly connect to the EVA suit storage lockers. The very last stop on this deck is another junction called A2. The bow of Dec B contains the flight bridge, featuring retractable shielding. The flight deck is a command center for the ship and is situated just below the brain of the ship, in the form of the central AI computer system. It houses the bridge, the command station, 2 co-pilot stations, a sensory control and analysis station, a life support monitor station, a communication station, a cartography station, and finally, the holographic display table. The bridge and the observation platform housed here are protected by a retractable shield that is utilised during FTL and in times of danger to the captain and crew during piloting. The flight deck additionally features an observation bubble, or what the manufacturer calls a ballista, at the top of the forward bow, allowing for a wider range of view of the external environment. Moving down and out of the bridge, we reach B1 Junction, and a port and starboard of this junction we have vestibules 1 and 2. Vestibule 1 is an armory and possesses a total of 4 individual Class A crew ejection pods, which are separate modules from the ship, which are automatically launched after a crew member enters one and the ship automatically detects a catastrophic failure or is on a collision course. Vestibule 2 contains an additional 4 Class A pods, but in addition to this contains a storage locker for more EVA suits. The midsection of Dec B begins at the first hallway intersection, with a port set of storage lockers. It also gives access to a stairwell leading to Dec C. Further down there is a corporate suite that contains the Class D crew escape vessel. This module is attached to the top exterior of the Prometheus, essentially acting as a lifeboat. Class Ds are exclusively designed for FTL crafts of a suitable size and comprised of 7 luxury appointed rooms. Complete with independent navigation and piloting controls, a reclaiming decontamination system allows one occupant 50 years of breathable air, with or without hypersleep. The module, in addition, is capable of landing on a planet from orbit, or performing atmospheric flight. However, it is not powerful enough to make it out of atmosphere of a planet, once it has actually entered it. Starboard side is a mess hall and a kitchen, and between it and the corporate suite lies an internal main shaft system for the air scrubbers. Reaching the second intersecting hallway of this deck, the area is designed to function as a living quarters, containing a large number of barracks and the captain's private quarters. Both ends of this intersection have access to the elevator system of the ship. Just sternward from this we have the port side medical lab and medical pods. Starboard from this we have the science sector. This hallway bridges off to both Science Labs 1, a large storage area, and the large Science Lab number 2. Travelling further sternward we have the B2 Junction, and then the internal reactor core of the ship. At the very stern of the vessel is a separate science module which housed many more of the modern biological and chemical laboratories for necessary investigations, analysis and experiments of the scientific materials they would uncover. Dec C, also known as the cargo deck, begins at the bow with an airlock and elevators right in front of the C1 junction. Moving down we reach the first intersection of the deck, containing a total of 6 storage lockers. The first room off this intersection is the stairwell leading to Dec B. Behind it lies the internal air scrubbers shaft, and port and starboard of this section we have cargo bays 1 and 2. Reaching the second intersection we find a catwalk. Either end of the catwalk links to the ship's elevators, and port side of the catwalk features the cargo office. The catwalk continues sternward, whilst being exposed to Dec D either side. This links to the balcony of the stern side of Dec C, which itself links into Junction C2. Port and starboard of C2 Junction is the internal coolant tanks. At the stern of Dec C, we have a starboard reactor relay control, which is the main internal access point to the ship's reactor core. Dec D is essentially a large underside cargo bay area for the Prometheus, also known as the vehicle bay. This bay has an approximate area of 23.5 by 14.75 meters, or 346.63 meters squared. The bay possessed a large cargo door to allow the loading and offloading of cargo and equipment from the ship, and also opens down to act as a ramp for people or vehicles entry or exit. The cargo bay is able to move up into the fuselage of the ship when in flight, and move out and down to allow access to the garage door to the external environment. When in the down position, a total of 6 stabilizer struts move to the surface of the landing area in order to further secure the vessel and stabilize the cargo bay for safe access. There is a total of 4 additional pressurized airlock doors, 2 being on the port side and 2 on the starboard side of the cargo bay. To the stern of the bay there is an equipment shed, a vehicle's parts storage area, and a dispatch office. The Prometheus had an extensive amount of high-tech equipment and made sure to pack enough for decent redundancy. Some of the smaller items accounted for was things like the flame units, pistols, shotguns, and Weyland-Yutani Storm rifles, used by those in charge of mission security. There was a total of 5 RT series group transports. Each transport was capable of transporting 20 occupants at maximum, and much less more comfortably. They featured a shape memory alloy wheel system that could resist temperatures of up to 2000 degrees Fahrenheit, as well as ceramic glass turbine engines capable of producing around 4 million pounds of thrust, making its cargo weight virtually unlimited. A total of 4 ATV NR6 2-person transport vehicles were also aboard, packing with them 4-tread track belt wheels, able to navigate near vertical terrain, carrying small payloads. The NR6s could reach a top speed of around 142 kilometers in standard atmospheric pressure and gravitational pull. Variable friction axles for both the front and rear wheels provided micro-torque gear adjustments for maximum safety and mobility across any foreign terrain. The Prometheus utilized an early hypersleep design patented during the 2030s, allowing for passengers of the ship to sleep much longer durations compared to those available commercially. It possessed a total of 17 of these chambers, which utilized the method of placing the crew into a slow wave sleep state. These chambers connected directly to the computer AI system and had holographic displays for outside observers, which communicated the metabolic conditions of the suspended cellular functions of the people in the chambers. The hypersleep chambers can be programmed to initiate, maintain, and terminate hypersleep stasis of any human crew member depending on the length of the mission and the percentage of FTL travel. Zero-loss lithium-ion batteries in a tertiary backup system supports the chamber's function for up to 100 years in case of power loss from the ship in an emergency. In addition, technology included alongside the stasis chambers was the Alpha Reader/Communicator. These devices essentially allowed the synthetic caretaker aboard to supervise the sleeping crew and even communicate with them in their dreams in order to provide continued mental support and maintenance of the crew, even whilst dreaming. Included for classified intent was the Pauling MedPod 720i. This device was capable of performing complex and invasive medical procedures, such as concentrated antibiotic injections, basic wound repair, appendixotomy, laparoscopic ablation, cardiac bypass, and cesarean section, just to name a few. The Prometheus carried with it a state-of-the-art EVA suit, being the first of its kind to feature full vital readouts and statistics and automatically regulating environmental adapters. These impressive suits were perfect for exploration, reconnaissance, and for above all, tactical maneuverability. The nano-reinforced composite helmets of the suits allowed for a large 320 rotational field of vision, and cadmium exoskeletons provided safety and stability over rough terrain. The crew of the Prometheus was comprised of the following members. You had Captain Idris Yannick, Corporate Mission Director Meredith Vickers, Mission Sponsor Sir Peter Wayland, the Mission's Attendant Synthetic David 8, the Co-Pilot and Navigators Immune Chance and Benedict Ravel, two lead scientists Dr. Elizabeth Shaw and Charlie Holloway. You then had biologist Raph Milburn, geologist Sean Fifield, and medical officer Kate Ford, and Sir Peter Wayland's personal medical care staff, C. Trayan. The security team comprised of lead security officer Corporal B. Jackson and mercenaries V. Furtick, R. Shepard, and L. Taplow. There are a number of mechanics aboard, two remaining unnamed to this day, but we do know of S. Barnes and J. Wallace. After the ship's inception, its potential would soon become clear as of the 2080s. During this time, in the year 2089, two archaeologists, Dr. Elizabeth Shaw and Charlie Holloway, discovered a star map that had been uncovered to have existed across multiple ancient human cultures and society that never shared any contact with one another. Yet this pictogram of the star chart existed across all of them. The archaeologists interpreted this as an invitation from humanity's creators to come to be known as the Engineers. Sir Peter Wayland, the elderly CEO of the Wayland Corp, is convinced by Dr. Shaw of the validity of their theories, and so decides to fund the creation of the Prometheus expedition in order to travel to the location depicted within the star chart, left for humanity to chase. This system, identified to have a single moon, is capable of harbouring life and is known as LV-223. After an almost 3-year FTL journey, the Prometheus would set down on the moon LV-223, close by a large artificial structure, which the crew chose to explore. The ship had largely achieved its goal, It reached out further than any ship had before and carried a mission on its shoulders more important than any other embarked on. After the mission's somewhat success, things began to go south though. Most of the crew were killed by hostile entities, including that of the last engineer. And as the engineers prepared to leave to attack Earth, Captain Yannick of the Prometheus had the difficult decision to make. The Prometheus was destroyed the first day of the new year of 2094. Done so in order to ensure the engineer's spacecraft would never be able to reach Earth with its payload of death. Yannick was successful in crashing the Prometheus into the engineer's juggernaut, destroying the former ship, in the process destroying the Prometheus, and unfortunately killing everyone aboard. But in the process, the Prometheus and Captain Yannick and the crew at his side all prevented the destruction of Earth. And whilst you might think that all this money spent wasn't worth it, I think $1 trillion for all the lives on Earth is a small price to pay. Before I go, I wanted to let you know about the ACHERON Colonial Marketplace, the one-stop shop for all Project ACHERON merch. Here you can pick up shirts, hoodies, mugs, phone cases and more. So if you want to support the channel and look good doing it, pick up some ACHERON merch. But what other videos would you like to see? If you have any ideas or have any questions, please leave them in the comments or contact me through Twitter or on the Project ACHERON Discord. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and share this video. And if you want to really help see this channel thrive and grow, as well as gain a bunch of awesome rewards for yourself, consider becoming a patron, such as Christopher Dasinger and Ambrosia, leaders of the Project ACHERON Hive. I hope to see you all here again very soon, but until then, this is Project ACHERON signing off.